Okay, I want to do a quick account update before we start this video. And I just see my gem count is pretty low. I've been doing the all-star summons whenever I can, whenever the reset happened. And I would say I got some decent units, and I'm gonna go to my box soon and show you what units I got. And I did a few pulls off the equipment summon. Didn't get really anything good. I got another Reyes true weapon, so I'm pretty sad about that. But yeah, so I'm gonna show off my box. I ended up pulling Finn, Favale, Saku, and like Rosetta off the All-Stars. They're off congratulations. I'm gonna put some screenshots on the right. And I ended up getting a Duke Rimuru too off the crossover summon. And I was pretty hyped, but it sucks that I can't use two of them because they can't stack. But I'm either gonna keep it just for the lulz, or I'm just gonna fuse it into my Rimuru to increase the luck or get some rainbow gems. But yeah, now we're gonna do a quick overview over the slime event for the New Year's and Santa versions. So yeah, let's get into it. So starting off with the New Year's slime event, they came out with two new units, and both of them are pretty attack focused, with New Year's Rimuru being a great attacker and New Year's Milim being a great nuke supporter. But people compare New Year's Rimuru to Vox, but that's not really the case because Vox gives a team-wide crit and is pretty versatile compared to Dark Rimuru, who only gives crit to himself through his abilities. But this doesn't make him a bad unit by any means, because his true art increases physical damage by 50%, and the damage boosting is pretty significant. And a YouTuber by the name of Orchillas, I think that's how you say his name, recently did a video on JP nuking the B3 Crest Palace with a few other people. So yeah, now on to New Year's Milim. Her kit is similar to Forte and Dark Finn, with the ability of increasing all allies arc gauge by 50 on the start of a quest, but she truly shines when she's paired up with Saitama and Sonji for mono light nukes, because her true art reducing the enemy's light resistance by 50% is pretty big, because it's the same as True Nemesis Crow, Regulus's true weapon. And you're going to see some big damage numbers when you use this in conjunction with those units. But I would say that both of the units are pretty good. But if you ended up pulling New Year's Milim, you're not going to see a lot of use from her until we get the units and equipment to bring her to full potential, because she's mainly oriented for nuking. But if you pulled New Year's Rimuru, I would say that's a pretty big win, because he's pretty self-sufficient, and if you're lacking an attacker, he can fill that slot pretty good. But I would recommend writing a good healer or an art gener with him, because his abilities with his skill is not enough to keep him self-sufficient unlike Vox. But if you can get some good supporting on him, he can bring out some big damage numbers. So yeah, now we're going to go on to the gacha equips. The first gacha item is a 5-star support, and it's called Rimiru's Kimono, and its skill for 10 seconds increases all allies crit rate by 100%, increases all demon allies damage by 50%. This item is a pretty good nuke item, with it replacing letter bag on demon nuking comps, because it gives a higher damage percentage while also increasing allies crit rate by 100%. Milim's Kimono is a 5-star magic, and its skill for 30 seconds increases own light damage by 40%. The damage boosting is selfish, but if you're looking to increase a light unit's damage for a certain period of time, you could use this item, but you could skip over it, it's not really needed. And then Milim's Sandals is a 5-star magic item, and its skill for 8 seconds increases own crit rate by 100%. This item is so selfish, and it's on a 5-star magic slot, so you don't really want to grab this. This is a pretty trash pull. Dragon Claw is the 5-star physical, and its skill for 8 seconds increases own attack by 50%. and it also reduces the enemy's physical resistance by 30%. This item is super good, especially if you're lacking a good nuking item. Reducing the enemy's physical resistance is so good because there's not many equipments that does it. Some equipments like Scissor Blade, Type 30 Bayonet, and Angelus's True Weapon are some that come to mind. Also Noel's True Weapon. So if you're lacking a good nuking item, I recommend grabbing this. You wouldn't go wrong for having it down the line. From the New Year's Slime event, they came out with 2 new farmables. And the first one is called Remiru's Scarf, and it's a 5-star physical. And its passive increases skill damage by 20%. And its skill for 10 seconds increases own damage to enemies you have a elemental advantage to by 40%. This item is not great at all. You wouldn't go wrong by skipping it and mainly farming for the 4-star physical because this is really niche and the damage boosting is pretty selfish. For the 4-star physical, Remiru's Flower Hairpin, its passive reduces physical damage taken by 5%, and its skill for 10 seconds increases own attack by 20%. This item is pretty good, especially if you want to have it for sustained damage comps. So I recommend farming like 2 or 3 of these because the damage boosting is pretty good for a 4-star physical slot. And yeah, they also added these new cresses that you can farm from the New Year event. And now we're going to talk about the Santa Slime event. For the Santa Slime event, they came out with 3 new units, and I already did a review on Santa Rimuru in a showcase. So I'm going to do a quick overview. His true arts is the shining part, with it increasing the damage by a significant amount. It's nothing to play with if you put him on a magic nuke team. He also is the best pair with Juno, with him increasing arts and being a good supporting unit for her with the passives that he has and the damage boosting. And Santa Milim, I plan to do a showcase on her, so I want to briefly go over her too. Her true arts is also what makes her shine, with it increasing crit rate by 100 while also giving a art gen type. And her art gen type is EX, but she cannot stack with normal Rimuru, but she can stack with Finn, Dark Finn, Haruto, Norn, Darkselia, Juno, because it's in a different art gen type. And then Santa Shion is the one I want to go over because I do not own her and I cannot get her anymore. So yeah, the first thing about Santa Shion is her kit is meant to be stacked, and her arts and true arts plays into her passives of increasing her attack and damage and capping out at 150%. And if you're lacking a damage dealer, she's pretty good. She needs some supporting and crit buffing because she's lacking certain things that would make her god tier, especially like a way to keep her Argent up or a crit passive. But yeah, now we're going to go on to the gacha clip. Remiru's Santa Clothes is a 5-star support item from the Santa collab, and its skill increases all allies art gauge by 40, and for 5 seconds increases all demon units art gauge by 6. This item is not too useful, especially when it gets beat up by type 0 when you want to get to your true arts quicker, and it gives you a damage boosting compared to this item. But if you're trying to use this for general use, I would recommend against it because the CT is pretty long and it's made for nuking, but you wouldn't want to use it for nuking when you could use type 0. And the 5-star healing is Milim's Santa Clothes, and its skill heals unit with the lowest current HP by 20%, and for 6 seconds heals all allies HP by 5% per second. This item is actually pretty good for a healing item, with its cooldown being so low on 40%, but it still can get beat out by Fina's Devil Wings or Demonic Wicked Globe. Shion's Santa Clothes is a 5-star defense, and its skill for 30 seconds increases all allies' physical resistance by 20%, and it also increases paralyzed resistance by 100%. This item is pretty decent for a damage mitigation item The duration is pretty long, 30 seconds, but it still gets beat out by other damage mitigation items. But if you're lacking one, this wouldn't be a bad pickup. And then the 5-star physical is Milim's knee socks, and its skill for 6 seconds increases R gauge by 2, and if the user is fire instead for 6 seconds increases R gauge by 3. This item is a phenomenal physical art gen equipment. It's comparable to true Izanami or Curse Like Sword with the arch gen per second. So if you end up pulling this, consider it a win, because I would say that this is probably the best item from this banner with increasing your art gauge so much. And the farmables, the first one is a 5-star physical, and it's called Hercules Edge, and its skill for 10 seconds increases own BE generation by 30%. If the user is demon instead, increases own BE generation by 40%. It's alright, like X marks the spot or true kimono could be a substitute and the better option for it, but if you need one for the BE output, you could use this, but it's only for yourself, so it's pretty selfish still. So yeah, you can farm one to maximum break for collection purposes. Finally, the 4-star defense item is Milim's boots, and for 10 seconds increases all allies damage resistance by 5% and reduces damage dealt by demons by 10%. And its passive also increases defense by 5%. This item is decent for the early game, especially if you're lacking a defense item, but you're probably going to replace this item once you get some better gacha items like Holy Road Michelle or a Phantom Mask or Gilliam's Mana C. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the video, and depending on what's the next crossover, I might do a paid summon video for the New Year slime event. So yeah, we're just going to see what the update is going to be, and this is going to be the end of the video. I want to thank y'all for watching. Thank you.
Oh, I could be all it is you need, 'cause we are trying to find a way to feel